Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 64 of Like, Share, Follow. And this week I have USC grad Melinda J Wells, who is an author, musician, and now a PhD researcher. So, welcome, Melinda. How are you going? And excuse my cat's
Well,
tail.
I see your cat's tail. Don't worry, my cat's in the room too, but he's just waiting patiently. So great to be here and to connect up with you again, Karen, after, I graduated a little while ago.
Yeah, when was that? When was your graduation?
Well, I didn't have one for my degree because of COVID. And then I did an honours year. So I did a double graduation in April this year.
Ah, excellent. That's
Yeah.
exciting. And what was your honours project about?
It was a statistical analysis of the gender imbalance across the Australian music industry from 2015 to 2020.
Wow, that's fascinating. And
Yes,
because your degree was a Bachelor of Creative Industries, is that correct?
yes, yes. So it was majoring in music, and my honours was really majoring in sound production. So I was very blessed and lucky to be able to work with Andy Ward. He was my supervisor and my main teacher. And yeah, I recorded a few of my own songs. I mean, they weren't great, but it was really good to be able to understand studio space because that's what my future research in the next 3 years will be about.
And so tell me a bit about that. So you're now a PhD student at USC, and your project is also music related, as you just said. So
Yes. Well, it's actually, and it's a little bit of a cross section of things. It's called Recording in the Regions. And as we had discussed earlier, it may change its name, but I'm pretty certain that it'll keep its focus. So I'm looking at regional songwriters and the production of original music for sustainable careers. So the barriers and pathways, and of course, some of the barriers are is location because we are such a big state and we're very, very, very spread out. So songwriters who live outside of the metropolitan and urban areas are quite disadvantaged. And then, of course, when I did my thesis last year, I realised that only 7% of music producers worldwide are female. And that is the
wow.
lowest percentage right across the whole industry. It is the worst faring in gender. So um, gender and geography are the two sort of, pinnacle, I guess, aspects of my research. And of course, I'm from a little town called Dalby in Queensland. So I did spend majority of my time as a songwriter out there and here at the Sunshine Coast. So I'm a regional songwriter. And I too have had issues in the recording studio. I've had issues with gender and sexual harassment, unfortunately, in my career, and I'm just going to be honest about that. I have had some challenges. So this research is very, very personal to me, actually.
And
Yes.
I think with research, I think it makes it much more interesting when you do have a passion for it, and because it means so much
Totally.
more to you, and then it will also mean so much more to other people as well because it'll actually help them because you've got a real personal interest driving it.
I think so. And so what I've got, the bit of feedback I've got from my supervisor, even though I'm only 3 months in, is that I'm very much on topic all the time and I'm very directed and focused in that. And I think that's because I'm not just doing it to get, the doctor in front of my name. I'm doing it because I want to go back into the music industry after being away, studying for these years. But I want to be armed with the real knowledge and the research, and I want to be able to back up what I want to say. And I hope in the future that I can actually build, a regional music network that is, supports regional musicians more fully, and especially those not identifying as men, and maybe, hopefully even up the gender imbalance just a little as well. So, yeah, I'm pretty passionate. I could talk for hours about that, but I won't.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, that means you've clearly found the right research topic. So that's amazing. Because
Yes.
I was saying to you before we went live that first year of PhD that I actually changed my topic 7 times in that
Oh,
first year because I was
no,
just couldn't
yes.
work out, and then I found mine was in the end was social media for nonprofit organizations, and that was my passion. So yeah, so
Ah,
has to
Yes,
find your thing, but it sounds like you found your thing, so that's great.
yes. And I think the beauty of sort of doing my honours last year, and I have to say that I was the first ever graduate from the music program because, as you know, it was brand new in 2018, and I graduated in 2 years because of prior learning. Then I was the first and only ever honours student to do music production as my subject. But in that year, I got the picture of what the Australian music industry was like. So, it was my first sort of, I guess, my first foray into research into my own music industry. And then I went, goodness, okay, I see a problem here. And I've had this problem. Oh, my goodness. So I have to do it. I mean, I don't have any choice.
Well,
It's what I
good
need
on
to
you.
do. So,
good on you for
yeah.
doing, for rather than, for using that information to drive you and to try and make some change for the better. So I think that's really commendable.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And since I left uni, of course, I did lose my whole business in COVID. I mean, and
Of course.
I speak on behalf of all of us who do, and I do music and I also do events. So every event was cancelled, every live gig was cancelled. And, suddenly we're in a whole new world where our industry is barely standing, but because I want to, because of my research, I decided to release a single, and do a launch of that single. And, the main reason, Karen, is because I didn't know how to do the back end of the music social media platforms. Amazon, YouTube Music, Spotify, and Apple Music. There's a whole back end for artists. So you have the front forward facing where all the fans listen. And I actually hadn't done that because it's been so long since I released a song. I didn't know the process. And so I did it to see how it was,
Yeah.
Yes, that was a big learning curve, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great way to do it, though, just you have to learn by doing. And I think that's a really great way to do it.
Yeah, well, it's the same as the courses I did with you. We were out there doing the work. We had to do, all the projects and stuff so that we could see what it was actually like and the real steps that you have to do. Because, as you know, you can talk and talk and talk about it, but until you do it, you don't really know the steps. So part of my PhD will be doing a series of workshops in regional Queensland so that I can talk to other songwriters about, well, you don't just throw a song out there. There's a whole thing behind the scenes, and that doesn't include all the social media platforms, on top of all of that. So yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, totally. And so I wanted to ask you, what has been the best career advice that you have been given?
Okay. Well, look, I think, being very general, you can't really make anything happen unless you have a vision of it and you can visualize it for yourself, and set some goals. I mean, not that I'm a business coach or anything, and a lot of this has come almost from almost like a spiritual practice as well, and a personal development. I think it's to be confident in yourself and in your ability to be yourself and be authentic. The hardest thing about being a musician is there are so many musicians. It doesn't matter where I go, I could find someone better than me at everything, everywhere I go, whether it's my friends or whether I'm managing a stage or going to a gig. So it's very easy to feel intimidated and to not have confidence in being who you are, because me as Melinda J Wells, I'm the best person to sing Melinda J Wells' songs, because they're mine and they're authentically me. And I could, it's very intimidating when there's always someone better than you. So I think along the way, that advice has always come through from others, and I have given to people I've mentored too, is that you just need to be the best version of yourself. It isn't a competition. So part of that, goal setting is being able to see yourself, with the success that you want. And then, what does success look like, I guess. But that's probably the best is being yourself, being authentic and not comparing yourself to other people, and see yourself connecting with the goals that you want for yourself.
Yeah, and that sort of follows on to my next question about then how do you stand out? So being yourself, but do you just sort of amp that up even more so you find something, or you find your sounds, particularly as a musician, and then just really keep building your craft around that?
Well, look, I think, Karen, that the hardest thing I would say for younger artists is they don't really know who they are. And, it's the same in whether it's in relationships or even in your own life. It does take a little bit of time to find out who you are. When you can be brave enough to go, actually, this is the kind of music I write. These are the kind of lyrics. This is what I want to say. When you commit to that and go, I'm just going to do that because that's what I want to do, that's when you'll find your own magic.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't really fit into genres that well. I write my album will be called Journey Songs because what I write about is the inner journey of my own self. And it's really it's personal what I write about, and it's a little bit maybe confronting, but I've committed to it. This is the kind of music I want to write. I mean, I went up to Mitchell Creek Festival just the other day, just as a punter, just going along to enjoy the music and to absorb myself in that, and met some nice campers there. And I sang the song I wrote called Woman, which I wrote for International Women's Day 10 years ago. And both those women just cried when I sang the song to them. Complete strangers. I only met them 2 days before. So just as an example to say, I have something to say and I have to be really brave to just not write mainstream stuff that conforms to somebody else's dreams or goals or, genre or what style or, this is me. I know what sort of music I want to write and I want to release. And I'm not sure if I've been able to say that until now, because prior to this, my real career years ago was as a children's entertainer, right? So, again, it was very directed. I had an exact audience. I knew exactly how to write the music and what I wanted to say and how to, engage my audience. Then when I left that, I had to rethink myself and go, well, who am I as an adult contemporary artist? And, yeah, I think I found myself. Yeah, which is why I released On the Inside, the song that I sent you a link to, and it is about the bullying that I had in the music industry. So I wanted to speak from the heart, and everybody who, not that many people listened to the song, but everyone who listened to the song really loved it and thought it was fantastic. So, yeah. So I think that's what can make you stand out.
Yeah. So just like working out what you want to say and committing to it and doing it. Yeah.
I mean, and you've created courses, you've written books, and you've got all your stuff going on. I can tell from looking at you that you know who you are, and you know which way you want to, teach social media and how you want to do it and how you present yourself and how you write. And and that's why I think you have success, because you are authentically who you are, and that's it. You are Dr. Karen Sutherland. You're knocking it out of the park, girl.
And look, now let's go back to uni. And so tell me, what are some of the things you learned at uni that you've found really beneficial to what you're doing now?
Okay, so I'll first talk generally. Music production, absolutely number one, because all the other things I learned about everything, songwriting, a performance and all of that, but I didn't know anything about music production. And it is so complicated and very difficult, but I loved it, and in fact I learned so much about it to realize that I don't want to do it. I don't want to be a music producer. I'm happy to say that. My son is a fantastic music producer, and he produced a song that you heard of mine, and he's going to produce in collaboration with me all of my music.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yes. So I learned a lot about myself in that. And when I did your courses, I learned that you have to know what platforms appeal to what people and find where your audience are across those platforms, and then what sort of content matches those platforms. I also didn't know about the back end, the monitoring, and measuring, and how sometimes those figures can be very misleading, and you can be misled yourself by your own social media if you don't know how to really look at it. and analyze it. You can delude yourself a little bit, I think.
Oh,
So, I
absolutely.
mean, yeah. So I learned a lot about social media from you, even though I'd done it for years and I've, built websites and I've done a lot of marketing in my time. What surprised me the most is how much I learned across the 3 years that I've done so far and how much I've got to learn. Like, I feel like I've got so much to learn. I don't know how I'm going to learn it in 3 years.
It never ends. The learning never ends.
It
So
never ends, but it keeps
yeah.
me young. I mean, I was a mature age student. I started university at 50. A lot of
Wow.
my teachers and the cohort, they were all younger than me, most of them, not all, but most. Um, so that was a learning curve too. It was really good for me to, be in the middle of such a vibrant experience as university. Yeah.
Excellent. And what's something that you wish you'd learned at university that you've sort of needed now that you didn't learn?
Well, look, the new music program they're writing, is probably going to have all the things that I didn't get because I was in at the beginning. And the first year, just sort of it was pretty it wasn't as rich in learning as it probably needed to be. So then they did a little bit of rewriting and they revamped it up. I mean, I'm sure it's the same with all courses. You have to start somewhere and then you rejig and you rework. But I think all of the things that were missing are being included, like all the live performances, being out in front of the right people, networking and marketing, the business side of it. They've integrated all of the business into it, which is really important. I mean, I've been a self-employed musician and entertainer for, 20, 30 years. So, yep, thank God they're all in there now. So all I can say is it's getting better and better for music students.
Excellent. And yeah, so the USC has a new Bachelor of Music starting next year. So if
Yep.
anyone's interested in that, go to the USC website and Google music and you'll see it there. And yeah, I think Andy Ward, who's the coordinator of that, has been working really hard to pull all that together. He's doing a fabulous job.
Oh, definitely. I can say 100% if anyone's listening to this and you're thinking about it and think, oh, what could I learn from at university? You can learn so much, and it's so rewarding, and it just really it has changed my life, just completely changed my life. And I feel ready to start the next career because I've had a few different careers, and so bring on another one, I say.
Yeah, and so now you're still quite active on social channels. So what is something I always like to ask my guests this because we're sort of focusing a lot on social media. What is something that you've learned over the last couple of weeks around social media? It could be, I don't know, a platform change or you've read something that you found really interesting.
Well, to be honest, I've been avoiding TikTok.
Oh, really?
And yeah. And look, I just have to put in this, Karen, I didn't even have a home phone when I was growing up, all right? And I didn't touch a computer till I was 24. So if you just put that in context, sometimes social media and these new things are a bit scary for us old folks, you know.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
and I've sort of got the setup where I want to start, filming a little bit of my original songs and putting them up. And I know I want to use TikTok. So I signed up today. I've been thinking about it for weeks and weeks, and I started today. And so in the next couple of months, I hope that I can maybe start putting some content up. So I'm stepping outside my comfort zone because I really my kids are watching it all the time. I'm like, oh, Melinda, come on, you got to get in and get on TikTok. So that's one thing. The other
Oh, good
thing
for
is that
you.
I use WordPress for my web design. So I've actually sort of having dual careers, one as a songwriter and one as an academic writer. And, so I'm starting a new website and I'm just learning to use WordPress a little bit more and integrating across my channels and learning how to use the portfolios and better working with the themes. So I'm sort of training myself in that. I am self-taught, but I've been building websites for a long time, but I'm an amateur, but You know,
Oh,
I'm learning a lot.
we all are. Like we're all amateurs, and we just start somewhere. It's.
Yes,
I was saying that to one of our clients the other day because she said, "Oh, I'm really bad at that," and it's like you're not bad at it. You just haven't learned it yet. That's all. Like,
I
not.
know. Yes, yes. And, you know, the same with LinkedIn. I ended up, you know, sort of paying for a premium subscription because I felt coming into my writing and academia, it's a platform again I was on, but I just ignored it, and I'm really investing a little bit more in it, and seeing if I can you know use it to my advantage a little bit better. So yeah, I suppose I am sort of jumping in on board on some things that I
Yeah.
have avoided. Yeah.
Good on
Yeah.
you. And LinkedIn's powerful. Like it's so the amount of opportunities and people and connections, amazing connections I've made through LinkedIn has been
Yeah.
unbelievable. So it's a really good place to focus. And I'm about to get because I'm about to reach out to some people for a transmedia book I'm writing with a colleague from Deakin Uni, Richie Barker. So I'm about to like double down and get the premium but finally as well, so I can reach out to people to see if they'll let me interview them. So and with
Yes.
TikTok, my advice is with TikTok is if you're very new to it, just watch other musicians on it and do it
Yes.
for a few months. Just watch them, see what they do.
Okay.
And the other thing is if you're on Instagram, you've got to have a go at Reels, which is similar to TikTok, but TikTok's better
Yes.
because the reach
Yes.
is just crazy. So I haven't been using it, but my students have been using it, and I've seen the results they're getting for their clients. And so I just put a Reel up then, and just this afternoon, and it already had about more than 1,000 views
My God,
within like an hour.
that's
So
amazing.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. So if you've got,
Okay.
and these are people who aren't following my account either. So these are just people I'm not connected with who are seeing my content. So if
Yes.
so definitely consider Reels as well because it's a great way to
Okay.
get a lot of organic reach, particularly at the moment.
Yes.
So
And I think, and it's just habit, you know, I'm just in a habit of sort of putting things on Facebook. But when I was doing my single launch, you know, I put more stuff on Instagram, and I did notice that like every single photo I put up, you know, got some hundreds of people sort of looking at it. I mean, I know that's not big numbers, but it's certainly more than what I was getting on Facebook.
but you know
And I
what,
thought,
Linda, if you had 100 people in a room, you'd be like, that's actually quite a few people.
yes,
You know,
yes,
it's
yes.
still 100
And but
people.
I know, and then consistently. So at that time when I was doing that, it was sort of it made me realize that if you know if I was a little bit more consistent, I think I could maybe get a bit of a following. And because I know what I'm doing now, and I know the kind of music I'm going to bring out, sort of powerful, emotional music. I don't know if TikTok and Instagram are the right channels, but I think I can. I think I can do something there.
Oh, totally. You know, I definitely think you can. So, yeah, so just I would just spend some time watching what other people are doing, not to copy them, but just to
Yep.
get a feel for, what people are responding to and then put put your stuff out.
Oh, that's
So,
good advice. Thank you.
that's okay. And so, just again, talking about advice, what advice could you give to emerging professionals who are still studying about how they can succeed in their career? So, apart from being confident and authentic, which also great advice, what other advice could you give to them?
Well, you know, it's that consistency thing. I think the face of music has changed, and I just have to use the music industry because that's what I'm in. The days of like, you know, working in the studio and releasing an album and then you've got 12 songs out there, you know, that doesn't happen anymore. What happens is it's single after single after single after single. So I'll use my son as an example. Harry's just filmed his first film clip, and he's going to release his first song in February next year. So he's planning ahead. Now, he said to me that I am not going to put anything out into the market unless I have 2 years worth of music ready to go, and he does. So he's got enough really great produced singles to release, you know, every couple of months for 2 years
Wow.
because it's about momentum. So I would say to any, especially a musician my age, you got to throw out the manual for how we used to do it because it just doesn't even exist. You've got to get on, streaming. So you've got to have your songs produced. You've got to have enough material to keep your momentum going, because we only make 0.005 cents every spin. So yeah, and you won't break even from the distribution cost of putting an album out. You won't break even until you have your song listened to about 4,000 times. So you have to be out there, and so once you get momentum on a first song, then you've got to have another one ready, and another and another and another. It's probably not that much different to any business the internet driven industry that we're in. Really, we're all in that position because of COVID as well. We can't just I can't do a tour and have people come and watch my show really at the moment even. So and we were talking about using videos and getting stuff out there. I would say to any other musician, we've all got to do that. That's the only way to go. So we have to change how we see the music industry, and we have to adapt to it. So that's the most important advice I think I'd give to anyone emerging.
Yeah, excellent, great advice. And I wanted to ask you too, because we were talking about the Transmedia course that you did with me when you were at USC. Well, you're still at USC, but you're
yes.
a PhD researcher now.
Yep.
And how? So we had a real client, and you worked in a group, and you pitched this campaign idea, and then you were all offered jobs. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So we had the Food and Agribusiness Network. So we didn't just have a business. Thanks, Karen. You gave us a whole organisation with 300 members and 1,000 people on their mailing list. And they go, oh, hello, we're going to run the first ever environmental field day at Kandanga. And so we went, all righty. So, armed with all of that. And, of course, when we met them and we sat down and said, blah, 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 here's our pitch, you were there. We did the pitch. And, I ended up having a commissioned role there, helping to roll out the whole festival. So I did a bit of media and promotions, social media stuff, and a lot of the logistics, actually. So there was like 70 stalls there, and it was a really hot day, but it was so fantastic and so successful. And it was on the day that our assessment was due. So we had, oh, my God, it was incredible, though. I took the girls along, my team, and I said, come on, team, here we go. But the women, mainly women who ran FAN, like they just said they couldn't have done it without me. Like it was really, really successful and fantastic. And thank you, because without pulling that name out of the hat and having a real project to do, I wouldn't have been able to have that work. And it really supported me actually through the whole semester. So it was amazing. Okay. Yes. I love it. Yes, I loved it. I love my social media courses. They were amazing.
Yeah, and one of my final questions for you, and this is actually a question I forgot to ask last week. I couldn't believe it. We finished, and I'm like, this is what the whole show is called, and I didn't ask this question. Who do you like, share, and follow?
Okay. So I like, share, and follow musicians who are similar to myself, who I think would have a similar audience to me. There's only a certain bucket of people that are interested in certain types of music. And I think, you've got to be really smart and logistic about it. And I think I've got a lot of friends who are musicians releasing music which is sort of similar to mine, similar age to mine. They're the people that I pay most attention to. Yeah, I follow the people. There's sort of a bit of a group of us, mid-career artists who are out there doing their stuff. It doesn't mean that I don't follow...
A shout out? Do you want to say any of
yes, Christy Apps, Ros Papalato, Deb Suckling, Emma Bosworth. There's a whole lot of artists I really love, but they're girls, songwriters that I've worked with that I really respect, and they're all putting music out, and, I'm ready to follow in their footsteps. So I keep a close eye on those kind of people, yeah. Brisbane-based songwriters, and regional songwriters as well. So, yeah.
Excellent. And so we've had a few comments and questions throughout the show. So Rob Wilson said that he never realised so few songwriters are women, and this is illuminating yet confronting. And he has a question for you. He said, is the low percentage of women songwriters more pronounced in Australia, or is it a global phenomenon?
Well, it's at last count was 21% in Australia and 22% worldwide. So, no.
Yeah, right.
And on that, the music producers, there are no statistics in Australia, which is why, as part of my PhD, I'll be doing it. They don't even count music production. There are no statistics. So we had to use international figures. Yeah, I had to use the figures from a study done in the UK. Yeah.
Wow, so groundbreaking research. It's so needed what you're doing.
It is so needed, yes. So across the board from 2015 to 2020, there was a 5% increase in women's roles in the music industry, and most of those were in board memberships.
Right.
Yeah. And it is hard to think, there's a lot of, singers, performers who are female, and you would think that songwriters wouldn't be as low as 21%. Like I'm a little bit like, wow, I know so many female songwriters myself. But these are registered songwriters and songwriters whose music is out there, in the marketplace. Yeah. So the figures for women went from sort of, 5% to 45% was the most. In fact, the royalty payments for men and women were pretty good. Women were making 69 cents in the dollar in 2019, and men were making about 90 cents. And that's getting better.
It's getting better. Wow.
Well, it's the only one that's getting close to. That's the only one that's close to equal. The others just are nowhere near it. So, yes. So that's the answer to that.
Well, thank goodness you're doing the research that you're doing. So
yes, yeah,
yes, and we have Professor Bodhisattva Acharya, and he's from India. He always pops in every now and again, and he just says hello. So yeah, so I think it must be like early afternoon in India at the moment. So hello there. And so, that sort of wraps it up. So do you have any final words you'd like to share with people watching?
Well, look, I think that to have a life, that's successful or that fulfills you, I think a life filled with learning is absolutely key. It doesn't matter what it is you're learning, but to always learn and grow just means you'll always have, a thirst for knowledge, and you'll have a fun life. It's all about the joy. And I think, as I said before, going to university sort of really changed my life. I'd always been out there doing different things and challenging myself, but, this is the biggest one yet, as you would know, doing a PhD.
Yeah.
And also, look, if anyone would like to look at anything that I've done, if you Google Melinda J Wells, I'm the first 20 hits, the first 2 pages, it's all me. So I'm easy to find.
So your SEO is on point. Well done.
Yes, it is. SEO is definitely on point. Well, I had to put the J in because Melinda Wells was already taken and she was already doing something else in America. So it's Melinda J Wells. So if anyone would like to have a little look at what I do, you can just Google me up and off you go.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And we're going to take probably a 2-week break, I think. And then we'll return in a couple of weeks with Like, Share, Follow for episode 65. And we will have Eden Mitchell, who's a marketing and branding officer at Thrive House. So also USC grad. So thank you so much, Melinda. And thanks to everyone who's been watching. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Karen. Bye. Thank you. Bye.